That's right. I absolutely agree. You know, something that the Quran says, the Quran talks about heaven and hell, you know, not being places, but being actually states of mind. So what we learn in the Moorish Science Temple of America is those particular lessons and exercises that allows for us to master our minds. So in mastering our minds, we know that we actually create, you know, our living conditions or our living mind space. You know, my brother Shay Rael used to always talking about, you know, having the chaotic mind space versus the peaceful mind space, and the ability to create this space for yourself. And as a Moorish American, somebody who knows themselves, they know that this ability, that this capacity actually exists within them.
I give praise to the author, the creator, the governor of all the worlds, who is almighty, eternal, and incomprehensible. Allah be his most sweet and holy name. I give honor to the angel of Allah, the man who was sent to bring us the everlasting gospel of Allah, the man who did come and did redeem man from the sinful and fallen stages of humanity back to the highest plane of life with his Father God Allah. He is our leader, our teacher, and our brother man, the illustrious holy prophet, Noble Jew Ali. I give honor to the forerunner of the prophet, Noble Jew Ali, the man who was to the prophet, Noble Jew Ali, in this era of time as John the Baptist was to the prophet Jesus in the days of old, Brother Marcus Mosiah God. I give honor to all the holy and divine prophets of Allah, because all the holy and divine prophets of Allah taught Islam. I give honor to our two flags, the American flag, the flag of our birth, and the Moorish flag, the flag of our descent. These two flags together, they represent us, the clean and pure nation of Moorish Americans. I give honor to our charter, which gives us the right to promote and practice the teachings of all true holy and divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, etc. I give honor to all the past and the present true leaders to this Moorish Science Temple of America and their officers and their stations. I give honor to the vanguard of the Moorish Science Temple of America and the Sisters Auxiliary of the Moorish Science Temple of America. I give a special honor to all the true and the faithful members of the Moorish Science Temple of America all over the world who are celebrating this Holy Friday. Islam. Islam. We had a wonderful holy night tonight. I feel so good. I mean, the Moors know how it is. When you come walking about that place, you vibrating on high, you just feel like you're tingling. And on the way home, I was thinking about this. You know, this has become a custom, night of power. What would make me know what the night of power is, or the night of majesty? What would make me know what it is? And I was thinking about this. I said, what I'm going to talk about? I have been talking about, you know, all of the different prophets of Allah. I'm gonna continue with that. That's not what was on my heart, though. Not tonight. And I thought about it, something, and I say, man, you know what? Man has a right to the life that he dreams about. But I don't think that all of us know that we have a right, you know, to the things that we desire. Often I've heard it said that, you know, we should not desire good things, that we need to guard our passions. That's true. We definitely need to guard our passions. But the Quran says, in the law he hath ordained as the rule of life, so kindly hath he united thy duty to thy nature, that obedience to his precepts is happiness unto thyself. Obedience to his precepts is happiness unto thyself. How can you be happy if you do not have the things that you want the most, the things that you desire? How can you find happiness? You know, for any and all of us who have spent any time, you know, in incarcerated or in the hospital, or just away from our loved ones and the people who we care about the most in life. For any of us who have been in those type of predicaments, then we know that, you know, being denied the things that you desire the most. And I ain't talking about, you know, I want to I want a hamburger, or, I want to go to my favorite club or something like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the true desires of your heart. To not be able to get those things is, or was to me, that was hell. That was hell. To not have the ability to express myself, that was hell. And to be free to pursue, my dreams and my desires and my passions, that is invaluable to me. And I believe that it's invaluable to everyone. So what I want to talk about is, I want to talk about the fact that Allah has placed within us, within every man, within every living thing, his own spirit. All right. He has given us all of his own potencies, all of his own powers, all of his own attributes. He has made those things available to us. With that being the case, there is nothing that is beyond our reach or beyond our scope. And I'm going to give y'all an example. Okay. The Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali, where was he born? In the state of North Carolina, 1886. Now, I was taught growing up in Sunday school to consider the actual state of North Carolina at that time. What was going on in North Carolina in 1886? What was that like? What was it like at that time? What was the condition of the Asiatic nations, the Asiatic people who lived there, to kind of get an idea of, what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali had to actually go through. And research has taught us that the Carolinas had the most lynchings of any other place in the United States of America at that time. Research has taught us that in 1886, our people were just going through hell, Jim Crowism, and all sorts of, attacks, because Europeans were angry. They were angry that, according to the law, they could no longer consider themselves to be our rulers, but they did. I mean, even still to this day. But the Prophet Noble Drew Ali came up in that time, and at the tender age of 27 years old, which is still remarkable to me. It's amazing to me. When I think about it, a 27-year-old man who set out to uplift fallen humanity, founded the Moorish Science Temple of America to uplift fallen humanity at 27 years old. When I think about what I was doing when I was 27 years old, when I look around now at the average 27-year-old, man, the Prophet was an amazing guy. Not only was the Prophet an amazing guy, but he had a whole group of amazing guys around him. Think about the Sheikh Milier, the Supreme Grand Sheikh of the Supreme Grand Council, Grand Sheikh of Temple No. 1. Think about the Sheikh Milier. The Sheikh Milier was a young man, already a lawyer, coming to the Moorish Science Temple of America, learning the truth about himself, and to be given the title of shepherd over the Prophet's flock. 27 years old. You see, these were individuals who, despite all odds, despite every foe that they had to overcome in order to selflessly contribute to what we see today, everything that Asiatics can consider right now as worth having today in the United States of America, they owe to what those young men did over 100 years ago, what they were capable of. All right. So here it is. We live in an era of time now where our young people are marketed. They are marketed the idea about themselves as being someone who cannot overcome their condition. I mean, when you look at TV, everything that they consider as a representation of who we are as the people is degrading. Everything is degrading. All of our women, prostitutes. All of our men, deadbeats. Everybody's a dope fiend. No one can be trusted. The entire race is godless. No one believes in accountability. This is what's marketed to us. And it's marketed to our young people everywhere where they turn. Nothing is showing them or telling them that they actually possess the ability to overcome whatever circumstance, whatever condition, that they can have whatever it is that they desire. It's not shown to them on TV. They rarely see it on social media. As a matter of fact, they are trained. They are trained to not even consider this information as desirable. Because we live in an electrified age. I mean, come on now. Whatever it is that you want to know is right there at the tip of your fingers. It ain't nothing like it was when I was coming up. You know, where we actually had to do research. Where we had to read books and study. All praise is due to Allah. It's a beautiful thing. While at the same time, it's sad to me when I see a whole race of fearless young people who just have all of this amazing energy directed in the wrong direction. It's sad to me. Okay. I remember when I was in prison, because I have children. I have adult children now. You know? But I remember when I was in prison, the first time a guy came into the Moorish Science Temple of America as a guest. He was 19 years old. Weeks ill. That's who he is now. Weeks ill. But he walked into there. His name was Pee Wee. He had 2 40-year sentences ran consecutive. He was 19 years old. And I looked at that little brother, and all I could see was my son. And the weight of that possibility was too much for me to bear. I made a vow. I said, check this out, Allah. I'm going to do everything that I can for these young men up in here. Please, if my child needs somebody, let somebody be there for my child. That little Mo was such an amazing student. It was him, and then it was a young brother named Holcomb Bay. They called him Bo. Both of them was from Washington, D.C. Holcomb Bay was 22 years old. He had 97 years. He turned out to be my cellie. I sat there and watched them two young Moors go out on the compound and just bring in so many more young men into the temple. All I had to do was walk right, be a good example, teach these lessons, and they just kept bringing these Moors into the temple. But it was a pattern. All of these young people, 25 years, 35 years, 45 years, life, double life plus 60 years.
I'm in the temple every day teaching, and I'm talking about they snatching the lessons up off the ethers. They snatching it, they dedicated. Real live warriors. Street warriors turned mental warriors. I'm just watching the possibilities of man unfold. They got all this time. I had to turn around and talk to Allah again. I say, Allah. I say, please. I say, let me teach some Moors that's going to go home and use these lessons. Let me teach some young Moors that might go home and meet my daughter. Please. I mean, if I got to stay here and teach these brothers Islam, but allow me to confer these degrees on some individuals that's going to be able to go out and use them. So Allah allowed for me to be shipped to a medium institution. And then I got there, and for the first time, it had been over a decade. I kind of lost touch with what was actually going on, what was coming off of the streets into the institutions. All of the drug addictions and how these young men who would be 19, 20, 25, 30 years old, insisting that they were just so young, acting like they was 14, 15, 16 years old. These young guys was coming in addicted to fentanyl, crystal meth, spice, lean, volumes, all types of stuff. I mean, they were tore up. By the time they did get to the temple, they came in the temple crawling for real. And I was like, whoa, this what's going on out there in society? This is what it came to? I mean, these young people, they had just given up. And then I started to realize something else. They all have very bad mental health conditions because so much trauma. They have been through so much. Let me tell y'all something about substance abuse and trauma. Because we're talking about the dreams that you have a right to. Okay? You have a right to what it is that you desire. You have a right to your dreams. Whatever it is that you want, you have a right to it. All you have to do is what it takes to go get it. This is where we fall short. This is where we cheat ourselves. Okay? Because we don't do what it takes to go get the things that we desire. It's not that Allah is blocking our path to these things, but anything worth having is going to require you to do some work. Now, in the Asiatic community, we have what's called the Negro problem. Okay? Now, some of the major causes of the Negro problem is substance abuse and trauma. Almost every last one of us suffer from PTSD. Almost every single last one of us. Now, with that being the case, we turn to the substance as a coping mechanism because of the trauma. So we start to get high. We start to drink because we don't want to face the trauma. And these substances that we keep on pouring inside of ourselves allow for us to ignore the trauma. But then what happens? These addictions, they tear us up so bad. They cause us to lose all bonds with our loved ones. And then we seek to get rid of the addiction, not really understanding then it's not the drug or the substance that we are addicted to, but it is what the drug or the substance allows us to ignore, which is the trauma. So then we go into these rehabilitation centers that specialize, or they say that they specialize in helping individuals to get rid of the substance abuse problem. But the substance ain't really the problem. It's the trauma. Now, they don't know how to deal with the trauma. So for all of us who have family members or ourselves, maybe we have been inside of these rehabilitation clinics 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and we're trying to figure out why is it not working. I've heard children say that they have given up on their parents because their parents have been inside of these substance abuse clinics over and over again, but they still have these addictions. There's a reason. Less than 20% of the people who are called addicts in the world are actually addicted to a substance. The addiction is not chemical, it's mental. Okay? So what happens is our people, or we ourselves, we go inside of these rehabilitation centers, we stop using the drug, we feel better about ourselves temporarily. And then when we leave, something triggers our memory back to the trauma. And what do? We turn to the substance because this is how we cope with the trauma. And they call it a relapse. All right? So the substance abuse and this trauma, they copulate. And the produce of their copulation is havoc in our lives. So now in the Moorish Temple of America, we have been taught that if man thinks that his condition can be better, he has to keep his body clean with water and keep his heart and mind clean with love. Love of what? Love of what? Love of oneself. Because when you love yourself, you start to recognize the value. There has to be some value there. In order for you to love a thing, you have to see value in it. All right? So now me, myself, I had very bad substance abuse problems. Now, I didn't do no crack. I didn't do no meth. I didn't do no heroin. Fentanyl wasn't the thing. But I popped 12, 13, 14, 15 pills every day. I smoked an ounce of better bud every day. I drank 2/5 alcohol every day. I spent over $900 a day getting high. That's a substance abuse problem. But my addiction, it wasn't the pills, it wasn't the weed, and it wasn't the alcohol. My addiction was relief. Relief from trauma. If y'all listen to what I said in the video yesterday about my brother, that was a traumatic experience for me at 8 years old. I don't to this day, I don't like to think about it. It doesn't have the same type of effect or the impact that it did in the past, but I really didn't want to think about it. Being shot, being in the streets, just growing up in these ghettos where we grew up, this is traumatic. And then for our sisters and what they have to go through, sometimes just to feed their children, or if they do get a substance abuse problem, come on, y'all. How do most women get their dope? That's traumatic. So now you got this traumatic cycle You got this addiction cycle. Okay? Why am I sharing this with the Moors when I'm supposed to be talking about we have a right to our dream life? Because these are the things that stand between us and our dream life. Not being able to relieve ourselves of the things that occupy space in our mind. Because I guarantee you that the majority of us, most of us, the things that we desire, it's going to take all your mind to get it. It's going to take all your heart to get it. And what the Quran tells us about the calamities of the human state. How despair engrosses much of it. Much of what? Much of the heart. It engrosses much of the heart. The human seed came forth from where? The heart of Allah. Man is the what? He is the thought of Allah. Man is made in the image and after the likeness of Allah. So how do we think? We think with our heart. Contrary to popular belief. If you're a Moorish scientist, then you should know this. Because chapter 1, this is what it says. The human seed came forth from the heart of Allah. And the human seed is a thought. And we are made in the image and after the likeness of our God. So therefore, if you have a heart filled with despair, then you can't think properly. And if you can't think properly, you're probably not going to have your dream life. Okay? So we have to start to unpack this trauma and deal with it. We can't be hiding from it. I know it's hard. When I was in them dismal crypts, man, y'all wouldn't believe some of the things that some of the men came and told me when I would have the unpacking session. Because that's what I did. I had unpacking sessions with every new member. I sit down and I say, give it to me, Mo. You know me. You know I love you. You know whatever you tell me, it'll never be heard by nobody else's ears unless you tell. Or unless you tell me to tell. But let it out. Let it all out. Let's get it out. Let's deal with it. Because if you carry it around, if you keep on carrying it around, it's going to weigh too heavily on you and it's not going to allow you to get to where you want to go. All right? The greatest heights are gained by those who reach the greatest depths. Again, it didn't say sometimes. It didn't say under certain conditions. It guaranteed. We have to get deep down within ourselves. We have to start asking ourselves some questions. We got to start asking ourselves. Remember, reflection is the business of man. We have to start asking ourselves some questions. Who am I? What am I? Am I what I'm supposed to be? Am I who I want to be? Where am I? Am I where I want to be? If I'm not, how do I get there? What do I need to do? Thinking, understanding, reasoning, and willing. The actions of the soul. Willing. Think will. Think travel. Think motion. And will yourself towards your goal, your aim, your objective. Will yourself towards it. But prior to it, man, unpack that garbage. Again, the Prophet Noble Jew Ali say this is a field open to strong men and women. Does that mean that if you damaged, if you suffering right now, you in a weak condition, a weak state right now, that you can't come join the Moorish scientific? No, that ain't what that means. All the Asiatics is welcome to come. But you can't stay like that. You can come as you are, but you can't stay like that. So when he say that this is a field open to strong men and women, you have to have enough strength to do what it takes to overcome the unnumbered foes that will stand before your face. See, a little bit of knowledge about why they are there will help us to overcome them. All right? So let's take a look at some of the things that the Quran tells us about ourselves and about these foes. So first, the Quran tells us that man, like every other seed of Allah, like we got all the attributes of God, all the attributes, all the potencies of God. We have all of that stuff in us. Okay. He says then that perfected man must pass through all the ways of life. And so a corner was full manifest, a nature that sprang forth from fleshy things. Without a foe, a soldier never knows his strength. All right. Because it's a fight. Because man is the truth and falsehood strangely mixed. And then they strive. So it's a fight. Okay? So we soldiers, we fighting this fight. He says that unnumbered foes will stand before the face of man, and these he must overcome, yea, overcome them every one. Unnumbered foes, because it's unnumbered attributes. So these foes are not there for no reason. God didn't create these foes to torture us. He created these foes so that we would have a foe to fight, to spar with, to be made strong. You have to have the strength to get your butt in that ring and fight that fight. Right now, I guarantee that some of y'all who listening, or some of y'all who gonna listen to the recording after this, are going through hell. Real live hell. You going through real live hell. And you might be considering giving up. Don't give up. Trust me. Trust me. You're going to win. There's no failure for the human soul. You're going to win. Keep fighting. Okay? I might not be going through what you're going through. All praise is due to Allah. I might not have never been through what you going through. But I done been through hell. I remember one day, I absolutely lost my mind. No, real talk. I lost my mind, y'all. I just felt like I couldn't take it no more. I couldn't take it no more. I ain't want to fight no more. I ain't want to keep on striving and striving and striving and feeling like everything, the harder I tried, the harder it got. It just seemed like it wasn't getting no easier. So for about 30 seconds, I gave up. There it is. It was about 30 seconds. And it seemed like that still small voice started screaming. It started screaming. Penitent Bay, you better not. You done came all the way here. You done found your way all the way to the Moorish Science Temple of America. You all the way here. You too close now. Don't give up now. Don't give up now. It starts screaming. And I heard it. Some click. Got my butt up off the mat. It just kept on going. And look, I'm home now. I'm home now. I was sentenced to more time than I had lived. I don't know if you all can try to understand what it's like to try to think about being in prison with more time in front of you than you got behind you when you 23 years old. It's almost impossible. But there is no obstacle, there is no foe, there is no thing impossible when you're walking with Allah. When you walk with God, there ain't nothing impossible. So what would make me know what the night of power is? It is better than 1,000 months. In this one night, you can accomplish in this one night what may normally have taken you 1,000 months. And that just means a long time. All right. But it's when you at your best. Why does Penitent Bay do this podcast every Friday after Holy Day? And he calls it the night of power. Because Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Because on Friday, man was formed in flesh. And it was on Friday when he departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. So now we're talking about the science of ascension. All right. It was on Friday. The science of ascension, Mo. We talking about the holy day. Islam. We talking about you and I being the best versions of ourselves. Peace and love, Moors.
That's right. I absolutely agree. You know, something that the Quran says, the Quran talks about heaven and hell, you know, not being places, but being actually states of mind. So what we learn in the Moorish Science Temple of America is those particular lessons and exercises that allows for us to master our minds. So in mastering our minds, we know that we actually create, you know, our living conditions or our living mind space. You know, my brother Shay Rael used to always talking about, you know, having the chaotic mind space versus the peaceful mind space and the ability to create this space for yourself. And as a Moorish American, somebody who knows themselves, they know that this ability, that this capacity actually exists within them.